The rope of duct tape caught the morning sun like a noose. There was my mailbox sign, hanging from the oak tree in my front yard, swaying in the breeze like some kind of sick joke. And there she was, Karen Mitchell, standing on my sidewalk with her phone out, recording my reaction like she was shooting a nature documentary. "Now I've got proof of your non-compliance," she said, not even lowering that damn phone. Her voice had that sing-song quality that made my skin crawl. You know the type, the kind of person who turns every conversation into a courtroom. I walked closer to the tree, and that's when I saw the note, pink paper naturally. Final warning: remove unauthorized signage within 48 hours. Homeowner Association Aesthetic Committee. The words were typed in all caps, like she was shouting through the paper. "Karen, what the hell is this?" I kept my voice level, but inside, my blood was starting to boil. You ever have one of those moments where you can feel your day going sideways before you've even had your coffee? She lowered the phone just enough to smile at me. That wasn't a real smile. It was the kind predators give their prey. It's called following the rules, Dave, something you seem to struggle with. I looked at my mailbox sign. Nothing fancy, just my name and house number on a small wooden plaque I'd mounted next to the mailbox. The same kind half the neighborhood had, the same kind Karen herself had, come to think of it. "This has been up for 2 years. You never had a problem before." "Well, now I do." She raised the phone again. "The committee has received multiple complaints about visual pollution in our beautiful neighborhood. Your little decoration creates clutter." Multiple complaints, right. I'd bet my truck those complaints came from exactly one source, and she was standing right in front of me. The morning air felt thick, like storm weather. My neighbor across the street, Mrs. Chen, was pretending to water her roses, but I could see her watching us. The whole street was probably getting a show. Visual pollution? I couldn't help but laugh, but it came out harsh. "Karen, you've got garden gnomes lined up like an army around your flower bed. 12 of them, I counted." Her face went red. Those are artistic expressions that enhance property values. And my name on my mailbox somehow doesn't? She stepped closer, and I caught a whiff of her perfume, something floral and aggressive, like she'd bathed in it. "Your mailbox belongs to the Postal Service, Dave. You can't just personalize federal property." That stopped me cold. I'd never thought about it that way. Was she right? The mailbox itself belonged to the post office, but the little sign next to it? 48 hours, she said, tapping the pink paper with one manicured finger. "Or I file an official complaint with the city. Municipal code violations carry fines, you know. $100 per day until compliance." She turned to leave, then looked back over her shoulder. "Oh, and Dave, I've already sent a copy of this to the postal inspector. They take federal property violations very seriously." I watched her walk away, her heels clicking on the sidewalk like a countdown timer. The morning sun was getting hotter, but I felt cold all over. Federal property violations, municipal code violations, daily fines. The words rattled around in my head like loose change. I pulled out my phone and took a picture of my sign hanging from the tree. Then I looked at my mailbox, really looked at it. Just a standard black metal box with my house number painted on the side. Nothing special, nothing that should cause this much trouble. But as I stood there in my front yard, holding that pink piece of paper, I realized something that made my stomach drop. This wasn't really about the mailbox sign at all. The city inspector showed up 3 days later, like clockwork. Tom Bradley, a thin guy in his 50s with a clipboard and the kind of mustache that screamed, "I peaked in 1987. He stood in my driveway, squinting at my mailbox like it was some kind of explosive device. "Got a complaint about unauthorized signage," he said, not bothering with pleasantries. His pen was already moving across the forms. "Municipal Code Section 12-4 prohibits advertising displays in residential zones." "It's my name and address," I said. "How's that advertising?" He shrugged. "Code says any text display larger than 2 inches constitutes signage. Your plaque's 3 inches. He measured it with a little ruler, making a show of it. "Plus, it's mounted on Postal Service property." I felt that familiar heat rising in my chest. "Tom, you've driven past this house 100 times. Never been a problem before." "Well, now there's a complaint." He handed me a yellow citation. 7 days to remove it, or it's $100 a day. The paper felt heavy in my hands. Municipal code violation, failure to comply with signage ordinance. The words blurred together like they were written in a foreign language. Who filed the complaint? Anonymous tip through the hotline. But the way he avoided my eyes told me everything I needed to know. After he left, I sat on my front steps and called my buddy Mike from work. Mike's one of those guys who knows everybody, worked for the city for 20 years before switching to private construction. "Dave, you got Karen," he said when I explained the situation. "Tom Bradley's married to Karen Mitchell's sister. Didn't you know that?" My stomach dropped. "Come again?" "Yeah, man. Family dinner every Sunday at Karen's place. You think that citation was random?" Mike's laugh was bitter. "She's got half the city council wrapped around her finger through various family connections." I hung up and stared at that yellow paper. The fine print said appeals had to be filed within 48 hours, 2 days to fight a rigged system. That evening, I was grilling burgers when my neighbor Lisa Wong appeared at my fence. Lisa's about 32, works from home, has a toddler who likes to wave at me through their kitchen window. Nice family, quiet. "Dave, can I talk to you?" She glanced around nervously like she was checking for surveillance. "It's about the mailbox thing." "What about it?" She lowered her voice. "Karen came to my house yesterday. Said she was collecting signatures for a petition to clean up the neighborhood's visual appearance." Lisa pulled out her phone. "I recorded our conversation. Thought you should hear this." She hit play. Karen's voice came through the tiny speaker, crystal clear. "Need community support to remove these eyesores. Property values are dropping because of non-compliant homeowners. Sign here, or I'll have to file a report about your fence height. City code requires permits for anything over 4 feet, you know." Lisa's voice shaky. "My fence is only 3.5 feet. "Are you sure about that, Lisa? I measured it myself. Looks closer to 4.2 to me." The recording stopped. Lisa looked pale. "She had a measuring tape, Dave. Made me watch while she measured my fence. Said if I didn't sign the petition, she'd call in a violation." "How many people signed?" 15 houses, maybe more." Lisa's hands were shaking. She threatened everyone differently. Mrs. Patterson's dog registration, the Johnson's shed permit, Mr. Garcia's sprinkler system being too close to the sidewalk. I felt something cold settle in my chest. This wasn't just about my mailbox sign. This was systematic intimidation. "Lisa, would you be willing to make an official statement?" She nodded quickly. "I'm tired of being scared in my own neighborhood." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Karen's smile when she filmed me that morning, the way she'd said federal property violations, like she was savoring the words. But there was something else bothering me, something about the way she'd mentioned the postal inspector. Most people wouldn't even know that was a thing. Most people would threaten the city, or the Homeowner Association, or maybe the county. Why did Karen Mitchell know about postal inspectors? I got up and made coffee at midnight, standing in my dark kitchen, looking out at my mailbox under the streetlight. That little wooden nameplate looked so innocent from here, just my name and house number. But as I stood there in the dark, I started wondering what else Karen Mitchell might know about federal postal regulations. And more importantly, how she'd learned it. The community meeting was set for Thursday night at the fire station. Karen had sent out flyers, professional ones, printed on glossy paper. Neighborhood Beautification Initiative, protecting our property values. She'd even included clip art of a pristine suburban street. I showed up early and grabbed a folding chair in the back. The room smelled like coffee and floor wax. About 30 people filtered in, more than I'd expected. Karen positioned herself at a small table up front, with a stack of papers and that same predatory smile. She'd dressed for the occasion, navy blazer, pearl necklace, hair pulled back in a bun that probably required industrial-strength hairspray. She looked like she was running for mayor. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice echoing off the cinderblock walls. "As many of you know, our beautiful neighborhood has been experiencing some challenges regarding visual consistency." She clicked a remote, and a projector lit up behind her. The first slide showed a photo of my mailbox, with the nameplate circled in red like evidence at a crime scene. "Unauthorized signage creates visual pollution that directly impacts our property values," she continued. "According to the National Association of Realtors, Inconsistent neighborhood aesthetics can reduce home values by up to 12%. And I felt heat creeping up my neck. She'd done her homework. Karen clicked to the next slide. A petition with 15 signatures, blown up large enough for everyone to see. 15 families have already signed in support of immediate removal. This represents a clear community mandate. Mrs. Patterson raised her hand. She's about 70, lives 3 doors down from me. Karen, dear, I thought that petition was about the holiday decorations policy. That same principle, Karen said smoothly. Visual consistency benefits everyone. That's when I stood up. The metal chair scraped against the floor, and every head in the room turned toward me. Mind if I ask a question? Karen's smile tightened. Of course, Dave. This is a community forum. How exactly did you become an expert on federal postal regulations? The room went quiet. Karen blinked once, twice. I'm sorry. When you threatened me 3 days ago, you mentioned postal inspectors. Most people wouldn't know that's even a thing. So, I'm curious, where'd you learn about federal postal law? Her face went pale, then flushed red. I researched the issue thoroughly before taking action. Funny thing about research, I said, pulling out my phone. I did some of my own. Turns out there's only one postal inspector assigned to our county, Patricia Hayes. Been on the job 15 years. I held up my phone, showing the screen to the room. Called her office yesterday. Had an interesting conversation. Karen's hands were gripping the edge of the table now. This isn't relevant to the community discussion. Inspector Hayes told me something fascinating. She said they've been investigating complaints about mail delivery interference in this exact neighborhood for about 6 months. Someone's been pressuring postal workers to skip certain houses. The room buzzed with whispers. I saw Lisa in the 3rd row, giving me an encouraging nod. She also mentioned that tampering with mail delivery is a federal crime, carries up to 5 years in prison. Karen's voice cracked slightly. I have no idea what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. I walked closer to her table. See, Inspector Hayes is real interested in meeting the person who's been calling postal workers directly, demanding they stop delivering to houses with non-compliant signage. The whispers stopped. The room was dead silent now. Karen stood up abruptly, knocking her chair backward. This meeting is about neighborhood beautification, not whatever conspiracy theories you're peddling. Conspiracy theories? I pulled a folded paper from my pocket. This is a federal subpoena for postal delivery records in our zip code. Inspector Hayes filed it yesterday. That was a bluff, but Karen didn't know that. Her face went white as fresh paint. The interesting thing about federal investigations, I continued, is they don't care about city code violations or Homeowner Association rules. They only care about who's been interfering with the United States mail. Someone in the front row, I think it was Mr. Garcia, said quietly, "My mail's been spotty for weeks." "Mine too," said another voice. Karen grabbed her papers, shoving them into her purse. "I don't have to listen to this harassment." "You're right," I said, "but Inspector Hayes might have some questions for you real soon." She pushed past me, heading for the door, but she stopped at the threshold and turned back, her face twisted with rage. "You have no idea who you're messing with, Dave Stevens." The door slammed behind her, leaving 30 neighbors staring at the empty space where she'd been standing. Mrs. Patterson broke the silence. Well, that was more exciting than bingo night. But as people started filing out, talking in hushed voices, I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. Karen Mitchell wasn't done with me, not by a long shot. And something told me she was about to escalate this war to a whole new level. The police showed up at 7:30 the next morning. I was in my boxers, holding a cup of coffee, when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a patrol car in my driveway and Officer Dave Martinez on my front step. Dave's a decent guy, coached Little League with my nephew a few years back. But the look on his face told me this wasn't a social call. "Morning, Dave," he said when I opened the door. "Got a complaint I need to follow up on." "What kind of complaint?" He pulled out a small notepad, avoiding my eyes. "Failure to comply with municipal code enforcement. Also got a report you were making threats at a public meeting last night." My coffee suddenly tasted like ash. "Threats?" "According to the complaint, you threatened a resident with federal prosecution and harassment, created a hostile environment." He flipped a page. The complainant says you've been intimidating neighbors who signed a legitimate petition. I could feel my neighbors watching from their windows. Mrs. Chen was pretending to sweep her front steps, but her broom wasn't moving. The whole street was getting another show. Dave, you know me. When have I ever threatened anybody? Look, I don't want to be here, he said quietly. But I got orders from downtown. There's a citation for the signage violation, and I gotta write you up for disturbing the peace. He handed me 2 pieces of paper. The first was the municipal code violation I already knew about. The second was a misdemeanor citation for public intimidation and threatening behavior. This is insane. I was defending myself at a community meeting. That's between you and the judge. Dave's pen moved across his citation book. Court date's next Friday. And Dave, you need to remove that sign today. City's cracking down on compliance. I watched him walk back to his patrol car, that sick feeling spreading in my stomach. Karen had played this perfectly. I thought I was exposing her at that meeting, but she'd turned it around, made me look like the aggressor. After Dave left, I called Inspector Hayes' office, got transferred 3 times before reaching someone who could help. Inspector Hayes is currently investigating mail delivery issues in your area, the voice said, professional, neutral. I can't discuss details of an ongoing investigation. Can you at least tell me if there actually is an investigation? A pause. Mr. Stevens, if you have specific evidence of mail tampering or delivery interference, you can file a formal complaint through our online portal. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, feeling like I'd just been politely told to go to hell. That afternoon, I took down my mailbox sign. Felt like surrendering, but I couldn't afford another citation. I was already looking at court costs and fines that would put a serious dent in my savings. Lisa called that evening while I was eating a frozen dinner. Dave, I'm sorry, she said, and I could hear her crying. Karen came by again. She knows I recorded that conversation. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. What did she say? She had a man with her. Tall guy in a suit, said he was from code enforcement. They measured my fence again, said it was definitely over 4 feet. Wrote me up for an unpermitted structure. Lisa, your fence has been there for 8 years. I know, her voice cracked. But they said if I don't get a permit and pay the fine, they'll make me tear it down. That's $3,000 I don't have. Did she mention the recording? She said people who spread false information about their neighbors could face defamation charges. Asked if I was sure I understood what I heard on that recording. I closed my eyes. Karen was systematically destroying everyone who might support me. Dave, I can't fight this. I've got a 2-year-old and a mortgage. I'm withdrawing my statement. After Lisa hung up, I sat in my kitchen staring at the empty spot where my mailbox sign used to be. The metal looked naked without it, like something was missing. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hope you learned your lesson. Some battles aren't worth fighting. A concerned neighbor. I screenshot the message, but I knew it wouldn't matter. Karen was too smart to use her own phone for threats. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I kept thinking about what she'd said at the fire station. You have no idea who you're messing with. She was right. I'd underestimated her completely. But as I lay there in the dark, listening to the house creak around me, I started to wonder if maybe Karen Mitchell had underestimated something too. See, threatening a man's got consequences, and some of us don't back down just because the odds look bad. Time to find out what Karen Mitchell was really afraid of. I drove to the county courthouse Friday morning, wearing my only decent suit, the one I'd bought for my brother's funeral 3 years back. Figured if I was going down, I might as well look respectable doing it. The courtroom smelled like disinfectant and broken dreams. Judge Morrison was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and eyes that had seen every lie in the book. Karen sat in the front row with her lawyer, some slick guy in a $1,000 suit who looked like he ate public defenders for breakfast. My court-appointed attorney was named Janet Pierce. Nice lady, but she looked about as confident as a turkey in November. Mr. Stevens, Judge Morrison said, looking over her glasses at me. You're charged with municipal code violation and disturbing the peace. How do you plead? Not guilty, Your Honor. Karen's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my client has documented evidence of Mr. Stevens' threatening behavior and continued non-compliance with community standards. He submitted a folder thick enough to choke a horse. Photos of my old mailbox sign, transcripts from the community meeting, statements from concerned neighbors, all professionally bound and labeled. Then he played the recording. Karen's voice filled the courtroom, sweet as honey. Just want our neighborhood to be beautiful for everyone. Property values affect us all. Then my voice loud and angry. Federal crime, 5 years in prison. Inspector Hayes might have questions for you. Out of context, I sounded like a lunatic making threats. Your Honor, Karen's lawyer continued, Mrs. Mitchell has been subjected to harassment and intimidation simply for trying to maintain community standards. My client fears for her safety. Judge Morrison looked at me. Mr. Stevens, do you have anything to say in your defense? Janet Pierce stood up. Your Honor, my client was merely defending himself against systematic harassment by Mrs. Mitchell. We have evidence that... Objection, Karen's lawyer interrupted. Mrs. Mitchell isn't on trial here. Sustained, Judge Morrison said. Mr. Stevens, you're found guilty of municipal code violation, $50 fine. However, regarding the disturbing and the peace charge... She paused, studying the papers. The evidence suggests this was a community dispute rather than criminal threatening. That charge is dismissed. A small victory, but it felt like losing. I paid the fine and walked out of that courthouse feeling like I'd been run through a meat grinder. Karen was waiting by my truck in the parking lot, alone this time, no lawyer, no phone, recording our conversation. $50, she said, smiling. Not too bad considering. Considering what? Considering I could have pushed for more. She stepped closer, and I caught that overwhelming floral perfume again. But I'm reasonable, Dave. I believe in second chances. What do you want, Karen? I want you to understand something. Her voice dropped low, conversational. I've lived in this neighborhood for 12 years. I know every city council member personally. I play bridge with the mayor's wife every Thursday. My brother-in-law runs the code enforcement office. She counted off on her fingers like she was reciting a grocery list. The police chief's daughter babysits for my sister. My cousin works at the county clerk's office. My hairdresser's husband is on the planning commission. She smiled wider. Do you see the picture I'm painting? My mouth felt dry. What's your point? My point is that you can't win this fight. Not because you're wrong, but because you don't understand how this town works. She pulled out her phone and showed me the screen. It was a photo of me leaving the courthouse, looking defeated. This could all go away, Dave. The citations, the fines, the harassment complaints, all of it. In exchange for what? A simple apology, posted on the neighborhood Facebook page. Just admit you were wrong about the mailbox sign, thank me for helping you understand the rules, and promise to be a better neighbor going forward. I stared at her, this middle-aged woman in a pink blazer who just systematically destroyed my life for sport. And if I don't? Then next week, I file a complaint about your sprinkler system watering the city easement. That's theft of municipal services. The week after that, your garbage cans are out 12 minutes early. That's a violation too. Then, maybe I notice your car has been parked overnight in the street, which technically requires a permit in residential zones. She put her phone away, still smiling. I can make your life very expensive, Dave, or very simple. Your choice. I looked around the courthouse parking lot at all the normal people going about their normal business, fighting their normal battles. None of them had any idea what it felt like to have someone with unlimited patience and unlimited connections decide to destroy them one citation at a time. How long do I have to think about it? Until Sunday. Post the apology by midnight, or Monday morning I start making calls. She walked away, her heels clicking on the asphalt like a countdown timer. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, hands shaking with rage. She'd beaten me, completely, professionally beaten me. And the worst part was, she was right. I couldn't win a war against someone who owned half the city government. But as I drove home, something nagged at me. Something about her confidence, her detailed knowledge of how to work the system, her casual threats about federal postal regulations. Karen Mitchell wasn't just some neighborhood busybody with too much time on her hands. She was something else entirely. And maybe, just maybe, that was her weakness too. Saturday morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I called the FBI. Not the local field office. I figured Karen probably knew someone there too. I called the tip line, the anonymous number they advertise on TV for reporting federal crimes. Federal Bureau of Investigation. How can I help you? Yeah, I want to report mail tampering and possible postal fraud in a residential neighborhood. They transferred me twice before I reached someone who cared. Agent Sarah Coleman, White Collar Crime Division. She listened while I explained everything. The mailbox threats, Karen's knowledge of postal regulations, the systematic intimidation of postal workers. Mr. Stevens, these are serious allegations. Do you have documentation? I've got recordings, photographs, witness statements. But here's the thing. I think this isn't her first time. What do you mean? I'd spent Friday night researching Karen Mitchell online. Social media, property records, anything I could find. She moved here from Phoenix 12 years ago. Before that, she lived in 3 other states over 15 years. Always suburban neighborhoods, always moved after 2 to 3 years. That's not unusual. No, but this is. In Phoenix, there were complaints filed against a Karen Mitchell for mail harassment. Same pattern, threatening neighbors over mailbox compliance, intimidating postal workers. Case got dropped when she moved to Colorado. Agent Coleman's voice sharpened. How do you know this? Public records, court filings are online if you know where to look. I'd learned more about legal databases in one night than I ever wanted to know. Colorado had similar complaints. So did Nevada and Oregon. She's been running this scam for over a decade. What kind of scam? Think about it. She targets middle-class neighborhoods, picks fights over minor violations, then escalates until people either cave in or move away. Property values drop. She buys houses cheap through shell companies, flips them, and moves on. The silence stretched long enough that I thought the call had dropped. Agent Coleman? I'm here. Mr. Stevens, I need you to send me everything you found, every document, every record, every piece of evidence. Can you do that? Already compiled it, 47 pages. Send it to my secure email. I'll get back to you within 24 hours. After I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Maybe I couldn't beat Karen Mitchell in city court, but federal mail fraud was a whole different game. Sunday afternoon, my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a man I'd never met before, mid-30s, athletic build, wearing jeans and a polo shirt. He looked like he could be selling insurance or landscaping services. I opened the door. Can I help you? He pulled out a badge. Mike Cooper, Postal Inspection Service. Agent Coleman asked me to follow up on your complaint. My heart jumped. That was fast. We've been tracking similar patterns in other jurisdictions. Your research connected some dots we'd been missing. He glanced around the street. Mind if I come in? This conversation needs to stay between us. We sat at my kitchen table. Cooper opened a tablet and showed me photos. Different neighborhoods, different states, but the same pattern. Mailbox violations, intimidation campaigns, property acquisitions. Karen Mitchell's real name is Catherine Millbrook, he said. She's been running this operation for 13 years across 6 states. We estimate she's made over $2 million in property speculation using mail fraud as leverage. Jesus. Here's where it gets interesting. She's not working alone. Cooper swiped to another screen. Her brother-in-law in code enforcement, not related. Her cousin at the county clerk's office, they met online. She's been recruiting local accomplices in every city, offering them cuts of the profits in exchange for official harassment. I thought about Tom Bradley measuring my mailbox sign, the convenient citations, the coordinated pressure campaign. So what happens now? Now we set a trap, but I need your help. Cooper leaned forward. Tomorrow morning, you're going to post that apology she demanded, exactly as requested. What? It's part of the sting. We need her to think she's won, get comfortable, maybe get careless. Meanwhile, we'll be recording her communications with her local network. What if she escalates anyway? She won't. Catherine, is a predator, but she's also a businesswoman. She doesn't want unnecessary attention. The apology gives her what she needs to move on to the next phase of her operation. Cooper closed the tablet. Mr. Stevens, in about 6 months, Catherine Millbrook is going to federal prison for a very long time. But until then, I need you to play along. Can you do that? I thought about Lisa Wong's fence citations, Mrs. Patterson's confused face at that community meeting, all the neighbors who'd been intimidated into silence. Yeah, I said, I can do that. After Cooper left, I sat down at my computer and started typing the most humiliating Facebook post of my life. I want to apologize to my neighbor Karen Mitchell and the community for my behavior at Thursday's meeting. I was wrong about the mailbox sign issue and grateful to Karen for helping me understand the importance of neighborhood standards. I promise to be a better neighbor going forward. My finger hovered over the post button. Every instinct screamed against hitting it. But then I thought about Catherine Millbrook in federal prison, and I smiled. Sometimes you have to lose a battle to win a war. 6 months later, I was mowing my lawn when the black SUVs rolled down our street. 3 of them, moving slow and deliberate like sharks circling prey. They stopped in front of Karen's house, and men in windbreakers got out. FBI across their backs in bright yellow letters. I shut off the mower and watched. Karen answered her door in a pink bathrobe, coffee mug in hand, probably thinking it was another neighbor she could intimidate. The look on her face when she saw those badges, I wish I'd had a camera. They led her away in handcuffs 20 minutes later. No pink blazer this time, no predatory smile. Just a middle-aged woman in custody, looking small and ordinary and defeated. Mike Cooper found me later that afternoon, sitting on my front steps with a beer. "Thought you'd want to know how it ended," he said, settling down beside me. "Catherine Millbrook, also known as Karen Mitchell, also known as Carol Matthews, also known as Kimberly Morrison, charged with mail fraud, conspiracy, racketeering, and interstate commerce violations." How many people were involved? 12 co-conspirators across 6 states. Tom Bradley's looking at 5 years. The whole network's going down. Cooper accepted the beer I offered him. "Your research broke the case wide open. We found property purchases worth over $3.2 million, all tied to her intimidation campaigns." I thought about that Facebook apology I'd posted, how it had burned in my throat for months afterward. What happens to the properties? Asset forfeiture. The federal government will sell them, use the money for victim compensation. Some of your neighbors are going to get checks. And the local officials who helped her? The mayor's wife didn't know about the mail fraud, but she's stepping down from the city council. Chief of police is taking early retirement. We're still sorting through the corruption charges. Cooper finished his beer and stood up. "One more thing, Mr. Stevens. That mailbox sign of yours, you can put it back up anytime you want." After he left, I walked over to my mailbox. That little wooden nameplate was still in my garage, where I'd stored it after taking it down. But somehow I didn't feel like putting it back up just yet. 2 weeks later, Lisa Wong came by with her 2-year-old. The kid ran straight to my fence and started picking dandelions. "Dave, I wanted to thank you," she said. "The FBI said my fence citation was part of the conspiracy. They're dropping all charges and refunding my legal fees." "How much?" $3,200 plus punitive damages. She smiled, but it was tired. "I can finally afford to fix my roof." We watched her kid chase butterflies in my front yard. Normal stuff, peaceful stuff. "Lisa, can I ask you something? Why didn't you tell me Tom Bradley was Karen's brother-in-law?" She looked confused. "He's not. Tom Bradley's been married to Sandra Chen for 15 years, lives over on Maple Street." "Sandra Chen, as in Mrs. Chen, my neighbor across the street?" "Yeah, that's his wife. Why?" I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Mike told me Tom was Karen's brother-in-law. Mike who? My buddy from work, the one who told me about the family connections. Lisa shook her head slowly. "Dave, I've lived here 8 years. I know everyone on this street. There's no Mike who works with you, and Tom Bradley isn't related to Karen Mitchell at all." After Lisa left, I sat in my kitchen, trying to piece it together. Mike from work, who'd known about Tom Bradley's family connections. Mike who'd given me just enough information to make me paranoid. Just enough truth mixed with lies to send me down the wrong path. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts. Found the number I'd called that day, the one labeled Mike Work. The number was disconnected. I thought about that first conversation, how Mike had laughed when he said I'd been Karened, how he'd known about Tom Bradley's supposed family connections before I'd even mentioned them. Mike who knew everybody. Mike who'd worked for the city for 20 years before switching to private construction. Mike who didn't exist. I walked out to my mailbox, that empty spot where my nameplate used to be. The afternoon sun was getting low, casting long shadows across the street. Catherine Millbrook hadn't just been running a property scam. She'd been playing a much deeper game, manipulating information, controlling narratives, making people doubt what they knew to be true. Even after the FBI took her away, even after the conspiracy fell apart, she'd left behind one last trap, one final doubt about who I could trust, who was real, who was part of the game. I opened my mailbox and pulled out the day's mail. Bills, advertisements, a letter from the FBI Victim Services Coordinator, normal stuff. But underneath it all was a small pink envelope with no return address. Inside, a single sentence written in neat cursive. Some games never really end. A friend. I stood there holding that note as the streetlights came on, wondering if Catherine Millbrook was still playing chess while sitting in a federal prison cell. Or maybe wondering if she'd ever really been captured at all. The mailbox felt cold under my hand, and for the first time in months, I found myself looking over my shoulder as I walked back to my house. Some battles you win, some you lose, and some you're never quite sure really ended.